Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Y'all can see I'm swaying and cruising to the cut. I'm going to tell y'all the name of this cut right now. Good afternoon. Welcome to Jazzabrations Live. I'm your host, Linda Morgan, and I am rocking to African Queen because that's who I am. But this song just speaks volumes because my guest and his wife are the bomb. Please help me welcome my guest to the studios. None other than the John B. Williams, jazz legend, John B. Williams. Welcome to the stage.
Hey.
I'm excited because that cut right there, I just said, I'm opening up with African Queen because I know you have a queen and she is at home. Did you tell Jessica to call in and talk to us?
No, she had to go out and run a couple of errands with our little grandson.
Okay, so Jessica, if you out
she
there,
sends her love.
Oh, thank you, dear. Well, I know that song was dedicated to you, African Queen. It was the bomb. As always, I am excited. I'm super excited, over the moon to have. This is our 4th show of the year. Can you imagine? January is already gone.
I know
it just started, and it's already gone.
I know. Time goes by so fast.
But we got so much music to dive into, you guys, this afternoon. I'm not going to talk a lot. We're not going to even talk a lot, ask a lot of questions, because I want to hear. We got 2 CDs. We got volume 1 and 2 to break into. So I'm just going to give you some little tidbits, clips of each one of them, because when you catch John B. Williams out and about while he's doing his gig, you're going to want to pick up these CDs. Okay? That first cut was African Queen. So, sir, tell us a little bit about, where were you born?
I was born in the Bronx, New York.
That's where that accent comes from. You're from the Bronx.
Yeah, from the Bronx. The Bronx, we used to call it.
Okay. And then when did you arrive in California?
In 1972. I came out here with Doc Severinsen, the Tonight Show Orchestra, with Snooky Young and Ross Tompkins and Ed Shaughnessy. All of us came out from, Doc wanted to bring a lot of the key players from the New York band. Because I did the show in New York for 3 years before he decided he wanted to move the show to California so that he could interview the Hollywood guests. He can get a lot of the guests from the studios, and all of the great folks that are out here in California.
Wow.
It was difficult for them to travel to New York.
Right.
So he decided he wanted to move the show.
And that was the Tonight Show?
Yep.
But how many years were you on that?
7.
7 years on the Tonight Show. When y'all heard that boss bass, that was him hitting that bass line on there with us. So let me ask you this. Do you have any children in the business?
Yes, I have a daughter. That's one of my daughters is, as a matter of fact, she's in Liverpool right now. She's singing. She sings house music.
Oh,
which was what disco evolved.
Right,
into, house music. So she's very, very popular, and she has representations over in the UK. So they get her a lot of work over all around Europe.
And just for my audience, you guys don't know, I'm going to put up, if I can, before the break, LeVron, I want to put up the CD cover with Miss Jessica Williams on it. Maybe we'll have to take a picture of it and we'll put it up. But he has a queen who is a disco queen.
That's right.
Can you believe a jazz musician and a disco queen together? That's some rocking music in that house.
Well, you know, I was the musical director for her when they first started out. And she was singing with a group called Arpeggio. And they asked me to be the manager, road manager, and the musical director. So I put the music together. And we met at the Playboy Club back in what was it? Back in 1970s, on 75, 74, 75, 76.
I know Jessica with a little hot self up in the Playboy Club.
Yeah, she was singing. She was singing background with Lenny Kazan, and I got a call that please come down. Can you come out? Can you come down? The bass player is sick, and we need a bass player. And the show was getting ready to start, and they don't have a bass player. And another bass player, a friend of mine, got the call. He couldn't do it, so he referred him to me, and so I just ran on down there. And the club was in. That's when it was in Century City.
Century City. Playboy
Club.
Right.
So I ran down there and made it in time to fill in for Henry Franklin.
Yes.
I filled in for him.
Wow.
Henry had come down with a cold or a flu or something like that, and was unable to perform. So they called me, asked me to come down and fill in. And so when I got there, I filled in for Henry, and I saw this gorgeous sister in the singing background, and I'm like, whoa.
Y'all go wait till you see. Look at this. See, look at the African Queen right there.
Yeah,
there she is on the screen, baby. Miss Jessica, how are you, dear? I know I'm just giving you a shout out. I just had to show the listening audience who this gentleman is talking about. African Queen. That was dedicated to her.
That's my queen, yeah.
That's right. So, I know that, so you got here in 75, you said?
72.
72 from New York. And what age did you start playing the bass?
I started playing the bass when I was in the Marine Corps.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. Yeah. I wanted to, I was playing drums. I was a drummer before that. I started playing drums when I was 12. And when I got in the Marine Corps, I wanted to try to make some little extra money on the side, playing some of the officers' clubs and NCO clubs. But there was always an abundance of drummers. But there was a shortage of bass players. So one day when I was in town with a couple of my buddies, we passed by a pawn shop. We were stationed in Camp Lejeune, which was right outside of Jacksonville. Was the town right by the base. And I went into town with some of the buddies and passed by this pawn shop. And in the window was an acoustic bass hanging up in the window. And I had thought about that. I said, wait a minute, maybe if I could play the bass, I could probably get some of this work and make a little money on the side playing in the clubs. So I went in, I got the bass for $100.
And the rest is history, y'all.
$100. I bought my first bass. I got it and I started going home on weekends. We'd pile into a car, drive up to New York, drive up home, and with some friends, and I'd take lessons from a good friend of mine, Alex Lane, who was a student of Charles Mingus. And then when I got out, I took the bass home, strapped on top of a car, and we drove home when I got out, and I found out that Ron Carter was teaching. So I called him, and he took me on as a student, and I studied with Ron.
Y'all better Google Ron Carter. If you don't know who he's talking about, Google him, Ron Carter.
Yeah, Ron was he was my teacher, and because of his strict training and teaching, it enabled me to audition for Horace Silver and get the gig with Horace Silver that was 1967.
Wow, I was 6 years old. 1967. Wow. History here. I'm giving me some lessons, y'all, up in here. Well, I know that we're going to hold that thought. We're going to, LeBron, we're going to go to the other CD, Volume 2, and we're going to just switch you. Just give me a cut. Song for My Father. I want to hear that one.
And that's my daughter.
And that's this
my daughter, Megan.
Okay. You played this.
She's singing on that.
Megan is singing on this. We'll be right back and tell you about Song for My Father.
There was ever a man who was generous, gracious, and good. That was my dad, the man. A human being so true, he could live like a king 'cause he knew there were
have a chance to hear my own CD, so I am rocking now. Oh, I cannot wait. That was his daughter singing on that cut. When I saw the song for my father, I thought we was doing the Luther cut.
The what cut?
The Luther Vandross.
Oh.
So I was like...
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I know you.
Yes.
Dance with my father.
Right. Dance with my father, yes.
Yeah.
And so she is sounding amazing on this cut. When did you guys do this one?
Well, you know what? It was Jesse's idea. Because I wanted to do a song for my father, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do the vocals. And I heard Leon Thomas did a version of it. I work with Leon in New York. Mm-hmm. And I heard his version of it. And I said, wow, I like that. And I think either him or I think Jon Hendricks wrote those lyrics. It sounds like Jon Hendricks' lyrics.
Right.
And so I said it to Jessie. I said, you know what, this big way song for you. And she said, but you know what, why don't you who would be better to sing Song for My Father but your daughter?
Exactly.
As good as she can sing, and she's bad. She can sing.
That cut right there is amazing.
Oh, yeah. And she does some more ad-libs on the trumpet solo that's like off the chart.
See, so that's why y'all going to have to get that CD. I know it's available on CD Baby, Amazon, all that online. Go there and look for that. The African Queen, and that was volume 2, which if we're gonna put that copy of that CD up as well, LaRon, when we get a chance. But I'm bouncing back between 2 CDs, volume 1 and volume 2. These are 2 of the baddest CDs and jazz you gonna ever listen to. So check it out. I'm just giving you snippets because you know that's what we do. I ain't trying to let you hear the whole thing because you're going to go out and you're going to buy it. You're going to want it. You're going to want to figure out where you're going to get it at. And as always, you can call in and say hello to me and my guest, John B. Williams, at 323-293-3375. I did see Elena, Gilliam, and Letitia. Y'all checked in on Facebook. So give us a shout out if you'd like to call in and say hello. So that cut made me think of who were some of your influences when you were coming up, when you when you decided to take the bass.
Well, let's see. These two CDs are Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Music of Horace Silver.
Okay.
That's where I started.
Right.
In 1967, I started playing with Horace Silver.
In his band.
And I worked with him for about 2.5 years. And I learned so much from him. He was my first mentor. Him, Ron Carter, and the late Bob Cranshaw.
Wow.
Those were my mentors.
The creme de la creme up there.
Those are the guys that Horace took me under his wing and just gave me so much. He taught me so much about playing in tune, number one, about getting a good groove, because like Duke said, don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you got to swing, you got to groove. And he taught me about not playing a whole bunch of notes, but playing notes that you mean. And play what you mean. Play it. And mean what you say. And Ron Carter echoed those same thoughts, because I was studying with Ron when the call came that Horace was in auditioning. And so I was like, Ron doubled down on me, and he said, go ahead and get that gig.
Absolutely.
And I got it. And Horace Silver got me to pick up the electric bass in 1968. He said, I want to do some things with the electric piano. He said, I want to add the electric bass. And I'm like, no, I don't want to play the electric bass. Well, Horace said, well, okay, I'm going to get an electric bass player. I said, wait a minute.
Hold up.
Let me not be too hasty. So he took me to the NAMM show. Now, the NAMM show
is this weekend.
Is this weekend. But when I went to the NAMM show in 1968, the NAMM show was held in the ballroom of the Conrad Hilton Hotel in Chicago. So, which was like a small
just one
compared
room.
To
compared to what it is now down there in Anaheim.
And he took me there, and he got all of us in the band. He got us all endorsements. Benny Maupin got him a new saxophone. Billy Cobham got him another set of drums, And Randy Brecker got an endorsement with Selma, another trumpet, and I got an electric bass, I got an electric bass amp, and I got an additional upright bass. And we were back in those days, you could bring all that stuff on the plane.
Oh, right, with you.
I brought it all back, strapped into a seat on the plane, and brought it all back.
Could you imagine now seeing a bass in the seat next to you?
Well, when I got back to New York, and one of our first gigs was at a club in Brooklyn, and this great real hip jazz club in Brooklyn. And Bob Cranshaw came out because a lot of the pros came out to see Horace's new incarnation, the new band, the new young lions that they called them, to see all the new young cats now that Horace had. And this was our first gig in New York. And Bob Cranshaw came out, and he saw me going from upright bass to electric bass, switching back and forth, and reading. And he approached me on the break, and he said, listen, I like the way you play, and would you be interested in helping me out? Because I have a heavy load of studio work in New York that I'm doing, and I really need someone that I can call that can help me out playing electric bass. And I said, sure. Well, that led to me doing Sesame Street, helping him doing Sesame Street, which started back in 1969, 68, 69. I did like about maybe 70% of those shows. I got the Tonight Show. I recorded with Louis Armstrong. I recorded with Count Basie. All of those sessions were on electric bass. Yeah, because the engineers started liking the way the electric bass recorded, and it was a new thing. And I was one of the few guys that was playing jazz, other than Bob Cranshaw, that was playing jazz on the electric bass. That could play jazz and read. And other than that, there was like Jerry Jamont on the R&B side, Jerry Jamont and Chuck Maney, and who we all became real good friends. And Chuck and I got a chance to play on a Louis Armstrong record. I did side A, Chuck did side B.
Wow.
But I did side A that had Wonderful World.
What a wonderful world.
Yeah, so that was really the beginning of my whole career. That just jump-started my whole career.
Oh, absolutely.
Being able to play the electric bass. And as a result, at the Tonight Show, Arsenio Hall show, in all of the sessions that I did in New York.
So when did you get with Nancy Wilson?
1975, 76, after I left the Tonight Show.
Sure. So you went on, became her bass player for 25 years.
Nancy's manager, the late John Levy, called me, and when they found out that I was no longer doing the Tonight Show, because I was kind of burnt out with doing talk shows, and so John Levy called me and said that Nancy Wilson would like you to play for her. Now let me back up real quick. During the time that I was doing the Tonight Show, Nancy Wilson got a local TV show, and this is a local TV show that started out with Lou Rawls, hosted for a while, and then Cannonball hosted for a while, and a couple of other well-known entertainers had it. And when Nancy got it, Phil Wright knew me. Phil Wright was Nancy's musical director. And Phil Wright knew that I was there at the same studio because she was taping her show at NBC in Burbank. And that's where I was taping the Tonight Show. Sure. Mm-hmm. So Phil Wright said he wanted to put a big band together. And so he thought about me. He said, I'd like you to play bass. So I started playing bass as a part of the band that backed up Nancy Wilson, her show. And that's how I got to meet Nancy. And then as a result of that, then go fast forward, after I left the Tonight Show, John Levy, her manager, and Sparky Tavares, her road manager, remembered me, how much they liked the way I played during that time. They called me and asked me if I would go on a tour, and if I would tour with her and perform with her.
And the rest
I said, yeah.
And 25 years.
Yeah. It would have been 30 years, but she let me take off to do 5 years with the Arsenio Hall show.
Wow.
Where she says, I allowed him to leave and do the Arsenio Hall show.
Because you wouldn't be turning down Nancy Wilson. You be playing with her to this day. Debbie Joyce.
Yeah.
You know Debbie Joyce?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, we were talking over at when Home was going on in Beverly Hills.
Right.
A lot about just how she does a lot of stylings and stuff after Nancy Wilson sings a lot of her songs and stuff. So,
Yeah.
hi, Miss Nancy Wilson. I know you're out there. Just want to say hello. I'm that lady who called you that time and asked you, could I honor you? Linda Morgan. I'm here, sitting here with your bass player, 25 years.
And I can
Lou Matthews.
I can give Nancy so much, so many accolades, because she really brought me out of my shell. I was doing well playing, but I was still a little careful and timid. And she got me to really just come out by having me do duets with her. We started doing a lot of duets of just bass and her. We did Teach Me Tonight. We did, I can't think of it, about 4 or 5 other songs that we used to do. And one of them we recorded on a record that she made called At My Best, which is this, and we have that recorded where I played Teach Me Tonight with her.
With her?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm putting that in my repertoire. Finding Nancy Wilson's At My Best CD. Okay, I'm getting that one when we get off the show. Because I want to hear that cut. So, I know that besides Horace Civil being one of your influences, who would you have liked to have played with that you didn't get the opportunity to play with in the past?
Miles.
Miles Davis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a chance to hang out with him, which was just as good. To me, that was even better, because Billy Cobham and Benny Maupin, they like flaunted it in my face that when I was working with Kenny Burrell in New York in Greenwich Village at this club called Slugs, and at the same time, Benny and Billy got a chance to play on Miles' album called Bitches Brew.
1959.
69 or something like that, yeah. They were playing on Bitches Brew, and they couldn't wait after the session to come down to Slugs to let me know that they just got finished recording with Miles.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, man, y'all, and they just waving it all in my face, man. We got to play with Miles, because we all love Miles.
Oh, yeah.
And so a couple of years later, or maybe a year later, I was working with Grady Tate in Buffalo, and in the airport, flying back to Manhattan, Miles was up there. He was upstairs visiting his kids that lived in Buffalo. I went over to him, introduced myself to him, and he said, I know who you are. And it was true. Miles knew all the musicians. He knew all the cats. He knew everybody. And so I just wanted to talk to him. He said, it was cool. I said, can I sit with you? He had them change my seat so that I could sit with him. And I picked his brain flying from Buffalo all the way back to LaGuardia Airport in Manhattan,
wow.
New York.
See, that's the kind of rich history that you just can't find, to sit at the feet of the master.
Yeah, and contrary to what people used to believe about Miles, Miles was one of the warmest individuals I'd ever met. To be such a huge, huge legend as he was. He was so warm, and he was so kind to me, and he was so open to all the questions, because I had a million questions to ask him, how he did this and how he got this. And when we got back, he always did everything one thing at a time. Nothing. He never believed in planning that far ahead. He always kind of stayed in the moment. He said, "Okay, you can sit with me," and back to LaGuardia. So we got to LaGuardia. When I got down to baggage claim, he came down in baggage claim, and he asked me. He says, "You going to Manhattan?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You want to ride?" I said, "Sure." He had his chauffeur take my bass amp and stuff off the carousel, put it in his car. He said, he'll give me a lift back into Manhattan. I said, great. So we're in the car, and I'm picking his brain. And he was so kind, and he was laughing, and he was so kind. We got to Manhattan. He asked me, he said, I'm going to go home, and then I can have my driver drop you off. So by the time we got to his house, he says, well, you want to come in for a second? I said, sure. So he lived over on 74th Street, and he had a brownstone. And he let me come into his house. And I went into his house, and we started talking, and we drank gave me some Heineken beer and some fruit and cheese and stuff. And we started talking again, and he started playing acetates. You know, the acetates are. Those are the LPs, the first LPs that when they finish recording, before they do the mass pressing of the albums, they send the artist the acetate. And if he likes that, then they'll mass produce it, the album. So he had a couple of acetates he wanted to play for me.
He wanted you to hear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Stuff that hadn't come out yet. And I was listening to it, and like one of the things that stood out for me, I don't know if you have time for me to
Yes,
tell
we
you
get
this.
that.
Okay, one of the things that stood out for me was the recording that he did live. And it was Chick Corea, and I think it was Chick Corea, Dave Holland, and I think and Jack DeJohnette, and they were playing. And Chick, he pointed this out to me. He says, we all talked about staying in the moment, just being in the moment, being in the now. When Chick was playing his solo, he got to let me back up. He was playing Fender Rhodes. Now the Fender Rhodes was famous for going out of tune. And all the guys that played Fender Rhodes, from Joe Zawinul, Herbie Hancock, and Keith Jarrett, all of those guys, they would always carry tools with them. So when the Rhodes would go out of tune, they could do a quick fix. When Chick was playing a solo, he got to the middle C, and he was playing this beautiful solo. When we got to the middle C, it was terribly out of tune. And what did Chick do? He kept going, and he came back and he played it again, and he hit that note, and he went to the solo. And what he wound up doing, he built his whole solo around that note. Rather than trying to hide that note, he put that note right out front and built his solo around it. And I was like cringing when I heard that, and Miles was looking at me laughing, and I'm like, why is he laughing? But then after I heard the rest of the solo and how beautifully it was constructed based around that note, I understood so much that it's like you can't go with a preconception. You may have things that you want things to go the way you would like them to go, but you have to deal with what is.
In the moment.
In the moment.
That's right.
And that happens to me a lot of times when I was on the plane flying with Nancy, and my bass got injured. My bass got one time we were playing and my bass got broken in flight. A young kid let me use his bass. The bass was a student bass, and it sounded like it. I had to make that bass work. Well, I couldn't get up on stage. I didn't have enough time to get another bass. Yes. So I carried an extra set of strings with me. So I put a new set of strings on it, and I brought that bass pretty much up to what I was comfortable with, and made the most out of it.
Oh yeah.
And because I'm saying I can't get up on stage and say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John B. Williams, I'm the bass player. I'm playing a bass that's terrible right now, but I want you all to understand that. So if I don't sound as great as I would usually sound, it's because I'm not playing. I can't do that.
Right.
I have to play that bass as if this was the bass I bought.
Correct. And nobody would never know being in the moment.
And that's right. And so that's what happened. It worked out. I played the concert with Nancy. We did everything that we would normally do with the other bass. The kid was so happy, and what was great about it, he got some new strings. He got I forgot a couple other things that I gave him, and he brought his parents. He brought his parents and his friends to the concert. I gave him free tickets, so he brought all of his family and his parents, and they were sitting at the concert, and they came backstage afterwards, and I signed autographs for him, and made the kid. He was so proud, and he was so happy. And I'm saying, like, what? Not only did I show that it's important to be in the moment, but I did something really nice for this young bass player.
Absolutely.
And inspired him.
And he would never, is he still alive?
Right.
Are you still in touch with him?
Right. No. But
wow.
I've heard from other people that he's gone on to become pretty good.
Oh, but
a pretty good bass player.
Could not have done it without you. With that in mind, we're going to hear another cut. Take me into another cut, LaRon, and then we'll be right back. Put up that second CD cover if you could for me, LaRon. I want people to get a visual of it as well. your host, Linda Morgan. This is our fourth show of the year on Jazzabrations Live, and I'm here with my guest, John B. Williams, getting me some great information. I'm so excited. Y'all know I'm sitting like a kid in a candy shop right now. Just sitting here and listening to the great stories of all the historical players that you play with, all of the music, the CDs is grooving. I am just in awe. Have always been in awe.
Oh, thank you.
And I have thought about how, let me see. When I gave you your award, we made it so that it was on a big birthday year. Mm-hmm. 75, right?
Yep.
How many years has that been now?
2. We
waited.
Well, actually, 1 year, because I'm going to be 77 next month.
Right.
This month.
It's January.
February.
Right.
I'll be 77.
So we was planning, trying to see when we was going to give him his award. And then we were doing this thing out at home in Beverly Hills on Thursday nights. And then I said, wait a minute. You're going to be 75, the perfect time next year. So we're just going to hold off and make it February when you turn 75. And here we did. We gave him the Living Legend Lifetime Achievement Award in February when he turned 75. It was actually on your birthday because we had the party.
They had a cake.
Yes, we had a party and cake at
home.
I need to pull up some of them pictures. History here. But it was that was a great place. If he was able to have kept that place up, that's okay. You know what? I'm going to put that out in the universe. That's my goal. I need to have my own club. I need to be running a jazz club 7 days a week because that's what I want to do. Is that what I want to do?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I want to do because I love to be around the music. I love hearing it live all the time. If I can go out 7 days a week and listen to live jazz, I would. I got the bug. Let me tell you about how I got the bug with jazz. My brother, one of my older brothers, used to play Hugh Masekela. Rest in peace, Hugh Masekela. He just passed away a couple of days ago. And my brother played congos. Mm-hmm. So he would every time I come home from school, Ali say, Ali canta. He was playing that and it was on the radio. So that's how I got my first introduction to jazz in the beginning.
Wow.
So how I transitioned to now being in this whole thing now going on 8 years of honoring and celebrating and it just was like a natural transition. Al Williams, who runs the Long Beach Jazz Festival.
Sure.
I tried to have this big ambition that I'm going to be a manager of his. I'm going to go find some gigs for a drummer here in L.A. It was like a needle in a haystack back then. I'm talking about 2004, 2005. Trying to find straight ahead jazz gigs was like the hardest thing for me. And I was like, I don't want to do this work. I don't want to, let me find something else. So at the festivals, he would always hire smooth jazz artists. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait a minute, you're a straight ahead player. What is this? And then that's how was birthed Smooth Ahead. Because I said, you just a smooth ahead player. You just love some smooth jazz. You got all these smooth jazz at the festival. You'll never. So we got to do this thing. And so I trademarked that and started figuring out where's all the straight ahead players? Mm-hmm. Where are they? What are they doing? So I started out having conversations about jazz and the status of jazz and and that led to the honorings and the celebrations with Buddy Collette and Michael White. Both of them, rest in peace. They're no longer here with us today. But just the love of going out and hearing live jazz for me has grown tremendously. Now I'm just like, my friends call me a jazz snob because I'm in my 50s. Our age group really don't know about straight ahead players. They're more into Kenny G, mm-hmm. Grover Washington, in the smooth jazz era that we came up in. And so when I started doing this and came up with the Smooth Ahead logo and the Smooth Ahead brand, it was my way of introducing my age group to straight ahead. So my friends thought that they was, because I was working for the festival, they thought they was coming to go hear some smooth jazz. Nope, they got some straight up dose of straight ahead jazz. They was like, what is this, Linda? I was like, just listen. Come on in and sit. So I started creating events and doing things around that.
Oh,
having straight ahead players and all, that's all I had. It was like, ain't no smooth jazz in this, ain't nothing smooth about this. I was like, girl, you just don't know. You gonna like it after a while. So then I had to just figure out, let me find me some friends who like jazz. So I don't have to figure out trying to fight with my age group to come out and go to hang out to jazz with me. So Charlotte Pope out there, my BFF, thank you for loving jazz and being a vocalist, because now I have somebody to hang with. So I just said all that to say that I fell in love with going and listening to live straight ahead jazz after trying to be a manager for Al Williams for, a year stint. I wasn't good at it, but it gave me some exposure about straight ahead.
Right.
So we're going to go into another cut on the African Queen CD. I want to go back to that CD. Both of these CDs are tributes to Horace Silver. This is John B. Williams and his wife, Miss Jessica. Which song on there is Jessica singing on?
Jesse's singing Peace.
Let me hear Peace.
Yeah,
we're going to go to Peace, because I wanted y'all to hear this African Queen's voice that John B. Williams is married to. We'll be right back. Jazzabrations live here on Sunday.
There's a place that I know where the sycamores grow and daffodils have their fun, where the cares of the day seems to slowly fade away in the glow of the evening sun. Peace when the day is done. If I go very late, let my mind meditate on everything to be done. If I search deep inside, let my conscience be my guide, and the answers are sure to come. Don't have to worry none. Like sweet seed when it grows, like a big yellow rose, can wither and come undone. But that sweet smelling thing will be blossoming next spring with the kiss of the midday sun. Living has just begun. When you find a peace of mind, leave your worries behind. Don't say that it can't be done. With that new point of view, life's true meaning comes to you, and the freedom you seek is one. Peace is for everyone.
That's one of them groovy cuts that you just can sway with. That's Miss Jessica Williams. And that song is called Peace. Peace. You know, I got my name change came. It means patience. I'm going to have somebody make me a song about patience. My new name is Ndidi. I'll be getting my African heritage induction in April.
Oh, good for you.
My name is Ndidi. That's right. I should be saying that on my radio station.
Yes.
Welcome to Jazzabrations Live. I'm your host, Ndidi.
Yes.
For the first time. But that is a great cut. Now, that was on African Queen.
Yep.
And that was a Horace Silver?
That's a Horace Silver composition. All of the songs. Except one, which is called The Kicker. That was written by Joe Henderson. But Joe Henderson was working with the band at the time when he wrote that. He wrote that for the Horace Silver band, for the Horace Silver Quintet. And then on the second volume,
calling us? Okay.
On the second volume, there's another one of his called Mojo. That's a Joe Henderson song.
Got your mojo working.
Yeah,
that one?
that's called Mojo, and that's on the Enchantment CD, the second volume.
Okay.
So there's one. Other than those two, all the other compositions are Horace Silver.
Well, we got a caller calling in. Thank you for calling in. This is Linda, your host on Jazzabrations Live. Who's on the line?
This is Elena Gilliam.
Hey, Elena Gilliam.
All right. I like the way she says that.
Hey.
Hey, all right.
Hey, I had to call in because I see my friend that I received the Living Legend of Jazz Award with, John B.
That's right.
All right. That's right. That's right.
Only
How are you?
I think you're much more a living legend than I am.
Oh, stop it. You are phenomenal. You are a phenomenal jazz singer.
Well,
Yes, you are.
Thank you. But you look great. That was a beautiful cut, too. Wow, your wife is, wow.
Have you guys
no wonder
ever
you
worked
haven't
together?
hired me.
Did you hear what I just said? I said, have you guys worked together?
No, he didn't need me. He's got that beautiful wife.
I know. Jessica is Miss Disco Queen, though. You should. I went to a show with Jessica.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and what's the other lady? Something right. Disco Queen. Back in the day.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't know if it was Betty Wright, but anyway.
I'm getting old. I can't remember his name.
Welcome to the club.
Exactly. But we thank you for calling in, dear, and saying hello to us. Now,
oh, yeah.
That was.
I love your work.
So I honored you, John B. and Bubba Jackson, I believe. Was there other people there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bubba, John, and
was Mikhail Majid on that one?
Sweet Baby J was there.
Sweet Baby J.
No, Mikhail wasn't there.
Okay, so that's one we did at City Council.
Yeah. Oh, that was so beautiful.
Absolutely, I am so amazed that after 8 years we are up to 138.
Wow! Congratulations, Linda.
Absolutely,
it's all because of you, my dear.
That's right.
All because of you.
Right.
Thank you. It's all because of you guys. And without you, there would be no me.
Well, and without you, there would be no living legend.
That's true.
Wow.
No, you definitely need to be congratulated over and over and over for the hard work that you put into making this.
Oh my God!
Bringing this to life. The whole thing of Jazzabrations. You have a lot to be proud of. And
thank you.
Yeah. You're going to be in the history books.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This was just that last piece right here of being able to interview you guys and talk to you myself one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because in all these 8 years, I've not had that opportunity. I've been doing all the shows and the honorees, but I never had the platform to say, no, just come and sit down and let's have a chit-chat.
This is great for you. This is great
wonderful.
for all of us. It's great.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. John, I want to know where you're going to be performing.
Yes. What's coming up?
That's a good question. I'm going to play something. I'm I'm kind of semi-retired right now, but I still do work with friends, and every so often I'll put a band together and go out and work. As a matter of fact, I'm playing tonight.
Are you doing something tonight?
I'm going to play tonight at a club in
You said something with Harold Land.
Yeah, with Harold Land Jr.
Oh my goodness.
I'm playing with Harold Land Jr. We're just going to be the two of us, and we're playing at a club called Hal's on Abbott Kennedy. Yeah, you know how.
In
so
Bennett.
I'm playing, yeah, and I've kind of gotten really close with Harold Land Jr. because I work with his dad. As a matter of fact, I recorded with his dad when his dad was had the band with Bobby Hutcherson.
Right.
Wow.
And I recorded a CD with them called San Francisco.
Oh wow.
And when Harold Jr. was just getting started, and I told his dad, I said, yeah, you know, tell him to call me. I'll play with him, and I'll look out for him. And so,
that's sweet.
yeah. So,
Abbott Kennedy is
sweet.
that's a nice spot.
oh, it's a great spot. It's a great spot. They have great food as well, and it's always fun to play with Harold. I really enjoy playing with Harold Jr.
I did for many years ago. I called him to ask him to help us on a gig, and he was, of course, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
wow, it was wonderful. Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah. So we'll be there tonight from 6 until 10.
Okay, can you come get me?
Okay.
She in Orange County. Well, you know what? You're going to have to invite him to come down there and play with you in Orange County someday.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Yes.
I'll
give him your
I
number.
don't know. I don't know if I'm worthy here. You.
Shut up. Shut up. Yes, you are. You are more than worthy. Get off my line, Miss Elena Jazz Legend Gilliam. Thank you for calling in, dear. I'm going to give him your number so I can just
please.
say,
Yeah.
I set it up here on Jazzabrations Live for them to play together one day.
All right. Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
dear.
Thank you. Take care, John.
Oh, you
And it
too.
was a
You
pleasure.
too. And it's my pleasure.
We're going to
Good
go
to hear
into
from
another
you.
cut, Elena, so you can groove to this one.
Yes. I'm listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, baby, for
Okay.
calling.
Oh, thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
righty. That's so funny. I did not even realize. I didn't remember that I honored her on the same time as when I honored you. That's right. Bubba Jackson and Sweet Baby J. Sweet Baby J is doing her thing in Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
She got a all women's band that she's rocking it out. I just got something on Facebook about it. But let's go into another cut before we get ready to get out of here. LeBron, and it has been my pleasure being here this fourth Sunday of the year, 2018, with my wonderful guest, Mr. John B. Williams, and his wonderful wife, Jessica Williams. Hey, Jesse! Your godson says hello. We're going to have to get some time with you as we go out on one of your cuts.
About Senor Blues. Jesse sings on that.
Senor Blues. I got the Senor Blues. Oh, I was thinking of, I've been listening to Barbara Morrison's cut, something about Big Top Blues or something like that. But let's go out with Senor Blues. Thank you again. Join us next week. My guest will be the phenomenal Hall of Famer guitarist Greg Wright. You don't want to miss that show. He is going to rock out. And then February is African American Music, Black History Month for some, African American Appreciation Month for others. I'm going to be giving you some historical references in jazz and blues in February. So stay tuned and stay with us. Thank you, John B. Williams, for being my guest today.
You're welcome.
Let's
My pleasure.
go out on Senor Blues.
Senor Blues is what they call him. Way down Mexicali way. Senorita's falling for him. gone away. Well, he's tall and good looking, and he always knows just what to say. Yeah, he's tall and good looking, and he always knows just what to say. By the time that they love him, senior blues done gone away. I just sit watching life pass me by, with no one got to lay my head by. Oh, I'm so tired and lonely and blue, 'cause the one guy I love won't be true. Got the blues and it's all 'cause of you.